Okay, that was fantastic. And what a beautiful day to sing out our soul. It's just gorgeous out with the trees behind us. Okay, good morning. Good morning. My name is Teresa Albarisi, and I share leadership of today's service with Kevin Geist. Actually, Kevin's responsible for the service. I'm just standing here as the lay liturgist. We welcome you to celebrate the transformative power of this religious community. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living, you are welcome here at the Harrisburg Unitarian Church. We invite you to join us for coffee hour following this service, either downstairs or on Zoom. Online or in person, you are very welcome.
Good morning. My name is Anita Menser, and I am co-chair of the Combined Stewardship Drive and the Next Generation Capital Campaign, along with John Hargraves. Before I say anything else, I just want to draw your attention to the serviceberry tree that is just starting to bloom. It's going to be glorious. I'm here today to bring you some absolutely fantastic news about our Make It So campaign. But first, a few remarks. We realize that although we have tried to schedule visits with many of you, and we are still making calls, it's just proving impossible to meet everyone in person. Therefore, the pledge forms are now available online. You can find them under the members, then scroll to member resources, where you will find separate links, one to the Capital Campaign and one to the Stewardship Drive. After 5 weeks of canvassing, the Stewardship Drive has pledges that amount to 76% of our annual budget. Today, we are also announcing that several of our current and former board members are offering a matching grant opportunity for new members and those who did not pledge last year. The first $750 of your commitment will be matched dollar for dollar toward the annual Stewardship Drive. Letters were mailed on Thursday to those of you who joined since January 2023 or who did not make a pledge last year. We hope that you will consider this generous opportunity. And now for the absolutely fantastic report about the Next Generation campaign. When the wish list was initially compiled, the grand total to address everything that we wanted to do was $1.2 million. But we aimed conservatively with a goal of $690,000 to cover the basic projects. I am thrilled to report that as of Friday, we have exceeded our original goal, with commitments from 64 of our member units. At the close of this week, the total now stands at $753,536. We also want to highlight the fact that the Next Generation pledges are payable over a 3-year period. You can make your Next Gen contribution in 2025 or 2026, but it would be helpful if you could let us know now what that amount might be. Our hope is to have 100% participation of all of our members to make it so. Your involvement, regardless of the amount, confirms that you value UCH and that you are securing our future together. I hope you have a sense of the teamwork and widespread generosity that has brought UCH together in honor of our spiritual home and our unique spiritual community. Our thanks to all of you to make it so.
Our call to worship today is from Tania Marquez. It is now, when we are called as witnesses of the world, to mend it, to change its course, to restore it. It is now, when we are called to act on our values, not to hide, not to fear, but to be bold and loud. It is now that we are called to continue our fight for justice, to organize, to speak up. It is now. Let us gather. Let us give each other courage. Let us worship.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain, will you hold my hand? Will you be strong for me? Sing to me quietly. Will you share some of your stories with me? If you will show me compassion, then I may learn to care as you do. Then I may learn to care. When I am angry, will you still embrace me? When I am thoughtless, will you understand? Will you believe in me? Stand by me willingly. Will you share some of your questions with me? If you will show me acceptance, then I may learn to give as you do. Then I may learn to live. When I am troubled, will you listen to me? When I am lonely, will you be my friend? Will you be there for me? Comfort me tenderly. Will you share some of your feelings with me? If you will show me commitment, then I may learn to love as you do. Then I may learn to
Our words for chalice lighting. I acknowledge that welcoming the stranger sometimes takes courage, but the joys and the hopes of doing so outweigh the risks and the challenges. I will support others who exercise courage in welcoming the stranger. I will offer the stranger hospitality, for this brings blessings upon the community, upon my family, upon the stranger, and upon me.
It is indeed a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We have the beautiful sun, increased finances, wonderful choir, and I'm going to be a grandmother. So. For those of you that might be wondering why I'm smiling ear to ear, now you know. So today's story is titled Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. Let's begin our story. You have to give them hope, hope for a better world, hope for a better tomorrow. Harvey Milk was an ordinary man, but he had an extraordinary dream. That dream would change history. Harvey dreamed that everyone, even gay people, would have equality. He dreamed that he and his friends would be treated like everyone else. He dreamed that one day people would be able to live and love as they pleased. With his New York accent, Harvey talked to everyone about his dream. His voice boomed. His body bounced with energy and excitement. Some people listened. A few agreed, but most did not. But Harvey's big voice and his big dream wouldn't be stopped. He discovered that the best way to change laws was to help make the laws. In 1977, Harvey Milk took a big step toward that dream when he became one of the first openly gay people to be elected to political office in the United States. Harvey and his friends planned marches to protest inequality and unfair laws, and just days before one of the marches, Harvey had an idea. A symbol, he thought. We need a symbol that shows who we are and how we feel, something to carry during the march, something to make people feel they're part of a community, something to give people hope, something extraordinary. Harvey knew an artist who could help. His name was Gilbert Baker. Harvey asked Gilbert said, "We need a flag." Volunteers arrived to help Gilbert's design come to life. Together, they dipped fabric into large barrels filled with vivid, vibrant dyes. They cut and pieced and sewed until Harvey, Gilbert, and other activists had a flag with 8 colorful stripes, a flag that Harvey hoped would give hope. Rights are won only by those who make their voices heard. On June 25th, 1978, when it was time for the march, a breeze stirred in San Francisco. The flag unfurled. The wind blew, the flag fluttered, flapped, and flew. A rainbow as bright and unique as men and women who walked behind it led the march. Harvey and the people asked for equality. They asked to be treated like everyone else. They asked to live and love as they pleased. They hoped the march would make a difference. Harvey was proud of the flag and proud of himself. He hoped others could be proud too. 5 months later, on the morning of November 27th, 1978, Harvey and the mayor of San Francisco, George Moscone, were assassinated. Their lives were taken by a man who did not think like Harvey, or feel like him, or love like him. The flag did not fly on that dark, sad night. Instead, thousands and thousands of people marched silently, carrying candles. The candlelight wove through the streets of San Francisco, up and down hills and around city buildings. A mile of glowing candlelight in honor of the 2 lives lost. That could have been the end of Harvey's dream and the colorful flag, but it wasn't. More rainbow flags were created. Some of the colors changed. 8 stripes became 6 stripes, but the meaning of the flag did not change. It was a flag of equity. More and more people began to think of the flag as their flag, and they began to feel pride. They began to have hope. In 1994, Gilbert Baker designed another rainbow flag. This one was larger than all the rest. Women and men, side by side, carried the flag, a proud, mile-long rainbow floating through New York City. The flag wove through the streets, up and down avenues and boulevards, and around buildings. The people demanded equality. They demanded to be treated like everyone else. They demanded to live and hope as they pleased. They were proud. They had hope. They would make a difference. I ask for the movement to continue, for the movement to grow. More rainbow flags were made. Some were printed on bumper stickers and T-shirts. Others were hoisted onto lampposts on Halsted Street in Chicago. One was hung in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Soon the rainbow flag was flying in other countries like Brazil, England, Israel, Russia, Singapore, and Turkey. The rainbow flag now unfurled on farms, in suburbs, and in cities. The flag flew proudly outside public buildings, hotels, shops, restaurants, churches, and homes. And once, on June 26, 2015, the White House was awash in the colors of the rainbow flag. We can be proud of that. Equality, pride, hope, love. Harvey's dream became a flag for us all. And now we will sing our children down to their classes.
Hello, my name again is Teresa, and I'm singing out loud today. When I was in my mid-20s, I fell in love with a woman, and that time I still considered myself Catholic and occasionally would go to church, but I knew I really wasn't accepted there. If the church found out I was gay, I would be ostracized, basically. So I didn't go very often. I moved to Harrisburg when I was 30, and I visited a few Catholic churches, and honestly, I was shocked by how conservative they were, and said, well, I can't go to these churches at all. They were not only their stance on LGBTQ+, but also their stance on women's reproductive rights and women's role in the church in general. So I stopped going to church altogether. So jump forward to 1993 and 1996. I was 39 and I was 42. I adopted 2 children with my then partner, now my wife. I use the word I purposely because at that time I was the only one who was legally allowed to adopt the children. Same-sex parents adopting children was not legal at that time. As our children started to grow, we really wanted a church family for them. We wanted someplace where they would be safe and welcome and also had a great RE program. So, fortunately, at this time, I was friends with Jane. She was here, let me see. Oh, I think she's teaching, yes. So, while being friends with Jane, we were talking to her about the fact that we were looking for a church family, and she said, you should try the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. I think you'll like it. We knew nothing of the Unitarian faith at all. In fact, some of my friends thought it was a cult, so, yeah. So we started to attend services. We were warmly welcomed, our children were welcomed, and our children also loved the RE program. Now that may not seem very special to you or to me now, but let me tell you 2 incidences that happened at around the same time. As many of you know, both of our children are African American. In the 1990s, adoption across race wasn't very common in this area, and it was even illegal in some states, like Texas. Anyway, we wanted our children to have experiences with other adoptive families as well, and we found out that Harrisburg had an adoptive support group for people who adopted across races. We were so excited. Harrisburg, right? Who would know? So, well, we tried to join, but it turned out we weren't welcome. We weren't welcome because we were gay. Even among a family of cross races and transracial family and adoptive families, we weren't welcome. Not too long after that, our family went to Lancaster for an adoption support group where the kids and the parents would meet together and then separately. While we were waiting for one of the sessions to start, we met a family from Lancaster, and they happened to have kids who were white. The children were playing with my children, and like most parents, we talked to the other parents, and they said, "Boy, you are doing such a good thing for adopting those children from Africa. And weren't our kids lucky to be saved?" So, we politely told the parents that our children aren't from Africa. They're from the United States. And we're not saving them. We wanted children, and we were lucky enough to adopt them. Instantly, one of the parents ran down and grabbed their kids. I mean, I remember this incident like it was yesterday, and took their kids away from our kids. It turns out that if our kids were from Africa and we were saving them and actually helping them become Christian, it was okay to play with our kids. But since our kids were from the United States and we weren't saving them, their kids were not allowed to play with our kids. So, it turns out that the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg was the right fit for us. So about 22 years or so ago, we joined, we became active, we were in services, and I sang in chorus, and we were in RE. We did couch groups, where we met Kevin, actually. And we felt like we were home here, and our kids felt like we were home. So over the years, I've experienced support so much from this church. We're not just welcome here. This church is actively showing and living their support for equal rights for all. Just a few examples that came to mind when I was writing this. Our church has a busy and popular booth at Harrisburg Pride. Many from our church were and still are silent witnesses. The rainbow umbrellas bring comfort and a feeling of pride. Members in our church truly care. The Harrisburg Unitarian Church participates in Race Against Racism, and we have for many years. One year, we had such a large team that we actually won the trophy for bringing in the most money from one team. And we definitely weren't the largest church there, so it was amazing. Members from UCH actively support the right for same-sex marriages, and I have remembered joining members in peaceful protest. Time has passed, and there's been a lot of changes, some good, some bad. Our daughters grew and went out into the world. The day after the 2016 election, both of my daughters were called the N-word. One was in college, and she had not experienced that at the college. She was fine there previous to that election. The other was in Westchester and was afraid to leave her apartment because there were drunk guys running around saying, "I'm going to get those." Once again, UCH showed their understanding of the impact the election had on so many. At times, our church had services and even spaghetti dinners, some of you may remember, around Election Day. This time there was no spaghetti dinner, but there was a gathering. For anyone who wanted to come together, I attended, and it was so comforting to know that others shared and understood my fear, grief, and feeling of helplessness. The church gave us hope. Less than a year later, I was laid off. I knew they were slowly laying off people, most of the senior staff, but I was surprised because I had just been called in the office and was told, "Your program is fantastic, we love it, you're doing a great job in the state." They must not have loved it that much because they laid me off 2 weeks later. So, yeah. It was a tough and scary time, but I still had this church to help anchor me. I could even stay in choir, although most of you know I have a job that takes me away on weekends quite often. 6 months after my layoff, I was once again reminded of the importance of this church and how fortunate I was to find this church family. A friend overheard the assistant director say, "Well, we finally got rid of that gay girl." Imagine, they got rid of an entire program gave the program to another agency to get rid of someone who was gay. This was only 6.5 years ago. So, the Unitarian Universalist Church, and this church, is a service to our entire community. The very existence of this church is a beacon of peace and hope for so many, including my family. The protests that members participate in, the services that members provide, the banners, Black Lives Matters, that we display, it matters. Our children were safe and happy here. The church helped my wife and I raise our children to have a worldview, to seek out knowledge, to accept others, and to actively engage to help others. In this church, our spiritualism or our faith or religion or whatever you want to call it, it's not just for the service. It's just not kept inside. It's on the outside. It's out in the world and on display through discussions, our services, our actions. The church not only accepted and welcomed us, the church has fought for the rights of my family. The fact that people care enough in this church for equality, women's rights, LGBTQ plus rights, basically equal rights for all. It's just miraculous. Thank you. Thank you.
Let us open our hearts and minds now to a time of meditation and prayer, a time to give expression to our joys and our sorrows. Life inevitably brings joys and sorrows, worries and triumph. In community, we find that sorrows shared are eased, joys shared are multiplied. So what burdens of worry or sorrow weigh heavy on you today? What joys, what gratitudes lift your heart? We invite you to share them now through writing them on a slip or typing them in the Zoom chat. Please indicate whether your message is okay to share aloud. You can also honor your joy and sorrow by placing a stone in the water of community. Please come up the middle aisle and return by the side aisles. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in bearing and celebrating all that life brings. With sadness, we learn of the passing of Laura Shemmick's mother, Keep Laura and Nancy and their family in your thoughts. This is shared by Rima. Also, we place one more stone in the water of community, representing the joys and sorrows that remain silent in our hearts and minds. Let us observe a moment of silence. When Andy and I got together, we weren't two crazy kids. We weren't 20-somethings either. I had a 2-year-old daughter and was determined to be stable in my relationship with her and in maintaining my job in IT consulting. However, I did meet Andy literally the day after separating from my former wife. I moved into my apartment Saturday, and I met Andy at church on Sunday. Within a few weeks, we realized we had something. I was 32, and Andy was just celebrating his 40th birthday. Andy had already been maintaining, for 7 years, a very close relationship with his 2 elementary school-age kids. We eventually coordinated our schedules to have the kids at the same time. This schedule allowed us to focus on our activities with the kids half the time, and half the time doing the things we wanted to do or the things we had to do. In that first year, we would take some weekend trips together. But after that, most weekends were dedicated to working on the houses we bought that had a lot of needs. In those early years, we'd meet other male couples with kids. We'd hit it off well enough and would plan to get together in a few weeks to let our kids play together, only to learn that they'd broken up and decided to quit attending the church. Usually those kids belonged to only one of the 2 partners. We both were raising kids and needing each other to make the same types of sacrifices. It's difficult to have less say or no say in the raising of kids in your household, but that is what a step-parent walks into. With very few kids consistently at that church, I said to Andy, "I've heard about these Unitarians. I read they're gay accepting. They're mostly straight, so I think there's going to be kids there. We have to check them out. Andy did not want to leave our friends nor the comfort of the 96% gay church we were already attending. And really, probably the only place we were comfortable in the world at that point besides our own home. But there are times I can be insistent. And thus we darkened your doors. At first, it's true, we came for the kids thinking we'd return to our church when they were older. But it became a false narrative. We came for our family, and therefore we came for ourselves. It was important that we could be here and be ourselves with our family. After attending the church for a season, we were asked not only to be teachers, but to be on the Religious Education Council. I was concerned to be a gay man in a classroom with children, especially the children of straight couples whose views I didn't individually know on gay people. I was happy that the other members of the council didn't have concern for me being with their children. And as we taught in pairs, no one would be alone with the kids. Still, I was uncomfortable. What if I'd be teaching and my assistant would have to take a kid to the bathroom? What if I'd be the assistant and I'd have to take a kid to the bathroom? Over time, these concerns diminished. The prejudices that I heard in society and expressed on the news about gay teachers were not reflected by the parents in this congregation. But it took time for me to diminish this anxiety. I was also asked to participate as a lay liturgist, and it was important for me to take this platform and to be asked to speak and to be as respected as any other member of this congregation. Back in those days, our kids sat with their teachers before they went downstairs, and usually the lay liturgist presentation came early in the service, so the kids always heard it. My daughter tugged at the arm of her teacher and said, "That's my father up there." And I have to tell you, in those days, the times when our children could be proud of us were few. So those are two examples of how I provided ministry to you in this church, but they're also two examples that you didn't think of where you were providing ministry to me and to us. I still struggle with the words to describe how important it was for us to have this not all gay church, this mixed gender oriented church to function in. In the early 2000s, we went to the Joseph Priestley District Conventions, and at the time you likened them to mini, cheaper General Assemblies. At one of those conventions, during the discourse of Dr. Richard Speck, he made statements about the UU stance combating many prejudices in our society and laws against gays. However, when he specifically mentioned our support of marriage equality, he was taken aback by some in the audience's reaction. He was assuming we as UUs were united on this front. He responded that we obviously need more exploration on this issue, and he didn't mention it further in his discourse. So yes, I can say there were opportunities for growth between us as well. And I think Andy and I provided some education. Our 10th anniversary and Andy's 50th birthday came in October of 2007, and I wanted to mark those two events. So I organized a party held here in the common room below, something I codenamed the Five and Dime Party. 5 for the 5 decades of Andy's life, and dime for the 10 years of us being together. When I told most people about this, they were very excited and said, "Wow, Andy's going to be 50. That's terrific." But when I told somebody gay about this, they said, "Oh my gosh, you and Andy are together 10 years already, and Andy's turning 50. Now I can understand 10 years isn't that long, and it's way smaller than 50. But let's play a game. Everybody, close your eyes for a minute. And I just want you to count in your head all the men you personally know that are 50 years or older. When you get to 25, I want you to shoot that arm up way high. Okay, let's go. Good. Keep those arms up. Keep them up. Keep them up. Terrific. Okay, good. You are pretty quick. There we go, David. Okay, we're going to play that game one more time. Close your eyes for a minute. It's going to be a lot easier than the last one. So, same thing. I just want you to think of all the male couples you know that have raised kids together and stayed together 10 years or more. When you get to, not 20, just 12 couples, shoot that arm up. How about 5 couples? 5 couples. Okay, Rachel, who are your 5 couples? Bah! Wrong answer. 5 couples. But you have the idea. Back in the 20 years ago, they were a pretty rare beast. They're still rare beasts. During that event, I allowed a little time for our 3 kids to speak, and I made a slideshow of our family and our family's interactions. I believe that evening, that moment of focus on our family was helpful for many in realizing that we were a family. Now, maybe there's nothing that would have changed what everybody in this church did for marriage equality. Maybe everyone would have done exactly what they did. But I choose to doubt that. I choose to believe that we influenced you. I choose to believe that subconsciously or consciously, because you got to know us, you further convinced yourselves and others that we deserved the same rights and protections as you did. I suspect that you even thought of Andy and I and mentioned us by name when you spoke or even argued with people who had different opinions on marriage equality. So, when Andy and I were finally allowed to get married in 2014, it was such a great honor for us to ask everyone that worked toward changing the opinions and the laws of Pennsylvania to stand and be recognized. It was a really joyous moment for us to recognize you. This year is 10 years from that point when we got married. And I would like to do it all again. So, listen closely. To those of you who identify as straight, if you led a group in support of GLBTQ rights, please rise. Stay risen. Stay risen. If you participated in such a group, if you stood in the freezing cold before the Dauphin County Courthouse protesting for marriage equality, if you contacted legislative representatives at the state or federal level, please rise.
A cold Valentine's Day.
They were always cold. Now, if you spoke out at work, at school, at college, at family events, supporting your GLBTQ friends, please stand and be acknowledged. Thank you. Also standing with you on Zoom are Pam Desch, Isaac Oliphant, and Eric Poza. So we talk about what we do when we are inside this building and what we do when we're outside this building. Or we speak of what we do for our members versus what we do for the community. We often speak as though there is a boundary or a wall between two different types of work. I'm not sure that it's possible to do ministry just in the church or just outside the church. I think that all ministry is ministry fluid, and ministry doesn't just benefit our members or just benefit people outside of us. Today's service inside these walls, for sure, that's where it's happening, but it's to move us. It's to guide us. It's to inspire us for what we will do outside of these walls, which will then change, which will then influence what we do inside these walls. And you might wonder if our support in this area is still needed. You might think this issue is not nearly as big as it was a generation ago. Well, I heard an interesting emission on the radio where there was a panel discussing this issue, whether it was way better or marginally better. And there was finally a point where one of the panelists says, you have to admit it's way better now than a generation ago. Gays and lesbians can get married. More and more churches are tolerant of gays. Companies and organizations have policies protecting gays and benefits for gays. And then the comeback came and said, yes, you are correct. Statistically, it is much better now. But looking at the individual, looking at the teen, looking at the young adult, if you live in a family that will reject you, if you are in a religious community that will cast you out, if your town will not accept you and you must hide who you are at school and at work, is it better for you? So last year, I thought it would be really nice to revive a past outreach of this church at Pride Fest. Pride isn't specifically for children, so I really liked the idea of doing something to make the day a bit special for the kids and families that attend. We had a large group of enthusiastic supporters from this church. Despite it being the hottest day of summer, as it always is, we had a good turnout. We helped lots of kids and even some adults to make their own tie-dye t-shirts. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. Now, there's a lot of technical aspects we could improve about what we did. We could change the color palette, add more folding techniques. Certainly, ways to wring out the shirts with less work would be much appreciated. Those are things that we can explore. But the thing I would really love to see improved at this year's Pride is our messaging. There are more and more religious groups that support not persecuting us. Some have come a long way, advancing beyond statements like, love the sinner, hate the sin. Some have highlighted more positive messages from their sacred texts. But I do find what our denomination says to be outstanding. As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, We value diversity of sexuality and gender and see it as a spiritual gift. We create inclusive communities and work for LGBTQ justice and equity as a core part of who we are. All of who you are is sacred. All of who you are is welcome. Now, I love that. That's a beautiful statement. But there is a lot of stimuli at Pride. So I wanted that idea, but a little bit shorter. But big. So I came up with, we accept, no, not accept. We need and rely upon our LGBTQ members. Whether that's the perfect slogan or not, I'm not sure. Maybe we can wordsmith that. But I want that message big and bold when we represent our church at Pride. When we came some 20 years ago, there were times people here would refer us back to the church we came from. Or they'd refer us to that wonderful choir that we heard this morning. Now, I think those referrals were well-meaning. We may not have come here speaking the religious language you spoke. You may have thought we'd be more comfortable with more gay people. Don't be in a hurry to believe someone doesn't need us and doesn't need you. Let me tell you, you've been more than good enough. You are a good group to walk through this world with, and that is the message I want available for the people we meet at Pride and anyone that we initially welcome. I want to paint one more image for you. There'll also be slides on the screen, so you can close your eyes or watch the slides. Think of a couple who decides to adopt a young boy in need. Initially, that couple would do everything to welcome that child into the existing family. They individually would be loving, and they talk with their other kids and do their best to help them to understand the plight of this child that they are introducing to the household. Hopefully, the other children in the family would do their best to adjust and understand. They'd work collectively to do their best to welcome that child. And if they're successful, that child is just a part of the family. At some point, they become secure, confident, grounded in the knowledge that they belong. Spats between siblings will happen. Parent and child will not see eye to eye all the time, but those disputes will not unground the family, and no family member will think that they don't belong. If 5 years down the road someone was to ask these parents, what do you do to welcome that child? It could seem like a bizarre question. So I've done a lot of member reflections about my childhood, my relationship with Andy, the kids, my mother, my religious communities of the past, my work. This is about us today. I don't feel you tolerate me. Well, maybe you tolerate some idiosyncrasies about my personality. But you don't tolerate me because I'm gay. I don't even feel like I'm the newbie or the honored welcome guest. I feel you see me as an integral part of this community, this congregation.
Amen.
So our greatest offering at Pride isn't just t-shirts and a fun event and a good memory of the day, but that is a terrific offering. That's a great offering. But our greatest offering, it's far greater to offer the support to someone to walk through the trials of this world and to walk this journey together, to enrich their lives and to allow them the chance to enrich our lives, as they will. So our greatest offering is to go beyond welcoming.
Okay, that was amazing. All right. The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, a freely gathered church of free people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each month, we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization. For the month of April, we're sharing with Gather the Spirit of Justice. Gather the Spirit for Justice is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that brings together Allison Hill residents, area organizations, businesses, and churches to address issues of social justice and economic equity. The organization strives to be a place where people can find common ground to meet and to discuss the changes that need to be made to make Harrisburg a great place to live for all of us. If you wish to contribute it online, visit uchbg.org for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving all that you're able. With gratitude, we receive these gifts and dedicate them to our shared work of serving human wholeness and welcoming the stranger. If you could join me in our covenant, we affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower, and we ask that you join in this affirmation of our covenant with one another. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
As
as you go, go knowing that if you pass into a situation where you cannot see a vehicle of good, you cannot see anything resembling the hand of God, never fear. It's there. It's probably you.